A few little housekeeping matters to take care of in advance. This webinar is being recorded and will be available on the AssetOptics website sometime after completion. Thank you, everyone, and we appreciate your time to come learn more about AssetOptics and our solution. My name is Mike Edwards, and I am the founder and managing principal for AssetOptics. A little bit about us as a company before we delve into our solution offering. Who are we? We are a Salesforce.com App Exchange business partner that is based out of the metro Atlanta area. We have been offering a 100% native enterprise, a 100% native Force.com enterprise asset management solution on the Salesforce App Exchange. The solution was originally launched in May 2010. We have a worldwide customer base and across multiple different industries, and we'll talk about a couple of those customers before we go into a solution demonstration. In terms of the overall agenda for today's session, we're going to talk about a couple of different use cases for customers and how they apply our solution. We are also going to go through a bit of a live demonstration, and at the end of this webinar, we will have some time available for questions and answers. If you can enter your questions into the question chat box, when we get to the end of the session, then we'll certainly address all of those questions individually. So AssetOptics, the solution that we offer, our native Force.com solution, is principally designed around the key functional areas of enterprise asset management. That being specifically asset management. So we give users, let me say this: asset management, preventive maintenance scheduling, work order management, and MRO inventory management. Then there's some other functional areas that kind of wrap around those key processes, but the typical, functionality found in enterprise asset management really surrounds those four areas: assets, preventive maintenance, work orders, and MRO inventory. From an asset management perspective, we enable customers to track what are known as functional locations, buildings, equipment, fleet assets, and serialized components. What's unique about serialized components is where an item can exist as both inventory, being residing in a warehouse or a storeroom, as well as being an asset. And of course, this requires that it have a unique serial number. When you're handling it, you handle it at the serial number level. We do preventive maintenance scheduling, so we essentially enable the user to create template-based work orders, a predefined work order, and then link those work orders to different assets through a PM schedule and do either calendar or meter-based preventive maintenance scheduling. We offer a standard work task library that can be used, and the preventive maintenance jobs can be built from that. Corrective maintenance jobs can be built from that, and even project-oriented types of jobs. So from within our work order management solution, we do a pretty comprehensive cost tracking. We give you the ability to track both plan and actual for labor, parts, and miscellaneous charges. And then from a multi-site inventory management solution functionality, what you'll find is that we give you the ability to catalog an item at the enterprise level, establish many different warehouses, and then specify inventory replenishment policies within each of those warehouses. We also offer some service bills of materials, and of course our entire solution is Salesforce One mobile enabled, since it is a native Force.com application. So a couple of customer use cases that we're going to talk about right now. Mevian Medical Systems being one of those customers. Mevian Medical Systems is a manufacturer of proton radiation therapy systems. Hopefully, you don't have to ever become one of their customers, but if you if you do, you know that they have certainly extensive regulatory controls over these systems. So what do we do for Mevian? We track instruments. So we first were brought on board to solve some fairly straightforward business problems, and that was to track instruments that are assigned to individual technicians and workers out on the manufacturing shop floor. And then the other part of that business problem was to manage the calibration for all of those instruments. And the whole check-in, check-out process related to that. We later expanded the use of the solution so that we started keeping up with configuration management on the proton radiation therapy systems. And basically, Mevian has approximately 700 serialized components that they track on a unit, and we track each of these components down to the serial number level and keep up with all of the revision change history. They're doing this through our service work order management solution, and they are also tracking system logs on a daily basis within the hospital. Where the units are installed, as well as our MRO purchasing solution, and all of this is being deployed over mobile devices and the full browser. A second customer in a very, very different industry vertical is the city of Elgin in Elgin, Illinois. The city of Elgin is a western suburb of Chicago. The city of Elgin is an extensive Salesforce CRM user, having deployed Salesforce.com for their 311 call center. So the 311 call center is the non-emergency city support services. Elgin implemented AssetOptics to handle all of the city's infrastructure maintenance needs for the Public Works Department. The AssetOptics solution is integrally tied into the 311 call center. So if a citizen calls to report a pothole, as an example, a case can be created. The citizen can also log this online through a citizen portal, as well as through a mobile app that can be downloaded from the App Store, where citizens called the City of Elgin app built with some embedded Salesforce One technology. Citizen can have this on their device, and they can just take photos of issues that need to be repaired, push them up, creates a case, and then work orders are created directly from that in AssetOptics. One of the unique use cases that we've addressed for the city of Elgin is the 811 call center, the state of Illinois 811 call center, which is essentially the call before you dig business problem. I'll kind of delve into that a little bit more and explain. So anytime that you need to do underground work on your property, you have to call and have utilities marked. It's a nationwide imperative. Call before you dig. The number's 811 all across the country. So you dial 811 as a citizen or a contractor. It goes to a call center, and in this case, the state of Illinois operates our 811 call center. The state of Illinois 811 call center, after they log a case, and if there are utilities that need to be marked inside of the Elgin city limits, whenever they save those records, their CRM solution sends an email with an attached XML document to the Salesforce.com cloud. Through a set of email services, this XML document is received and automatically creates a work order in AssetOptics, which then runs through a workflow process and automatically notifies the field technicians who go out and perform the markings. There are multiple teams, each having responsibility for different types of markings. These markings go out and are performed The technicians update this on Salesforce One Mobile through their iPhones and through their connected iPads. Take pictures of the work once the utility markings have been done. Complete the work orders. When all aspects of that work has been done, email notifications go back to the original contractor or citizen that requested that the work be performed. That way they get some real-time feedback. In addition to that, there are time-based alerts for the city staff, all driven from the planned dig times around these particular jobs. There have been many benefits derived from this in terms of quick turnaround time, effective management of all of these utility locates, and even in a small city of Elgin with a population of 100,000, they can get up to a few hundred of the utility locates per day during the summertime when there's lots of construction and lots of landscaping work kind of going on within the city. If you're interested to learn more about that, you can go to the GCN article that the city of Elgin wrote and published about this being one of their initiatives for their overall smart city campaign. So if you just go to Google, you can just Google GCN and city of Elgin, and you should be able to find this. So why AssetOptics? Why do customers across multiple industry verticals choose AssetOptics? First and foremost, it's because we provide a very robust functional footprint for the enterprise asset management business problem. Secondly, our application is 100% nativeforce.com. So if you're an existing Salesforce CRM customer, I think you really understand the value proposition around a nativeforce.com solution. If you're not Salesforce CRM literate and do not understand their cloud platform, it is certainly worth investing some time, and we'll cover some of the features when we dive into our overview demonstration. Our application is quite cost effective at $65 per month per named user. For AssetOptics, we offer the enterprise class functionality, typically only found in the tier 1 solutions, and we offer it at a much better value proposition and price point than other tier 1 providers. The other reason people choose us is because we have a proven track record of success. If you go to our Salesforce.com App Exchange listing, you will find multiple 5-star App Exchange ratings, and I think one of the things that we pride ourselves on is very good customer support. So with that, we'll just go ahead and we'll take a look at a little bit of our software overview demonstration here. So the first thing that you'll notice about the AssetOptics solution is that it looks and it feels like Salesforce CRM. So again, this is really one of the benefits is that the solution is 100% nativeforce.com. So all of the skill sets that your company has acquired in administering a Salesforce CRM platform, of course, apply directly to AssetOptics. And any user experiences very much directly translate. If you look across the top here on the available tabs, one cannot, even distinguish what's the difference between AssetOptics versus the standard Salesforce functionality. So we're going to drill into asset tags, and we're going to take a look at a couple of things. I'm just going to click here in my recently viewed list, and we're going to take a look at this air handler, and we'll look at some of the unique things about this particular air handler. You'll notice that we have an asset ID. We give you the ability to generate your own asset ID coding scheme. We also have the ability to automatically number assets. You can provide a description. You can specify the parent asset, and that's actually used to build a hierarchy. We'll talk about the hierarchy in a second, a little bit more in a second here. The customer or account, this would be for assets that aren't necessarily owned by you as the customer. And then any kind of contract where there may be a current maintenance contract associated with that particular asset. All of the manufacturer's nameplate data that would be linked to that. And then a set of classifications codes. You can have everything from simple, drop down pick lists. All of this is standard functionality where you have merely a type, all the way down to dependencies where you have classes and subclasses. So if we drill down here and we take a look, we can see that this HVAC unit is embedded inside of this hierarchical relationship right here. This air handler right here, if we explode it, we can see that there are two components related to that air handler. That this air handler here is part of this HVAC system, which is a child of this building right here, this Clarkson CA campus building, which of course is a child of the Clarkson campus. This is a university system, which of course is, part of that entire college system. So if we collapsed all these down, what we would see is multiple campuses right here, and then the ability to drill down. So by specifying the actual parent, we can manage and we can keep up with a parent-child relationship to aid in organizing your assets as part of your overall asset structure. Assets can also be geographically coded, so we can have a geolocation associated with that. The geolocations can be fed from an external solution such as Esri, and we can also track the attributes of those assets that you may set up for specific layers in Esri. The geolocations, of course, you do not have to have a GIS solution. You can just specify a geolocation on an asset by directly entering it, or you may also update it via a mobile device. So while you're at that asset location, there's a feature off of AssetOptics Mobile, which is based upon Salesforce One Mobile, that allows you to geotag a particular asset with the push of a button. Of course, we can see here what are those two children assets that we that we looked at a little bit earlier that are further down into this particular hierarchy. On an asset, you can see work order history, preventive maintenance schedules. You can see any meters that would be associated with it, and of course, notes and attachments. So preventive maintenance scheduling. Preventive maintenance scheduling is one of the key features of our solution, and one of the reasons what basically people acquire the AssetOptics solution. If we take a look at a preventive maintenance schedule, I'm going to go take a look at this PM schedule number 9. What we can see is that this preventive maintenance schedule, it is calendar based, and it is performed every 26 weeks. Every 26 weeks. So a few other key attributes around the preventive maintenance schedule that are worth noting. The system will automatically calculate the PM due date based upon when the last PM was completed, if it's a floating interval PM, or if it's a fixed interval PM, it has a defined set of cycle dates, and it automatically figures that out based upon the work order history. So we have a PM due date, a release window, and the release window tells you how far in advance that you need to release the jobs. So we can see that this work order will be generated and released 45 days prior to its due date, which is going to be November the 28th. That gives us an opportunity to do some planning and scheduling. The other thing that we can see here is that there is a default user assignment and a default account assignment. What this tells me is that Tom Technician is the technician that's responsible for getting this job. But what Tom's really doing, Tom is coordinating Five Star Mechanical, who's an outside contractor, to come in and perform this particular job. Within an individual preventive maintenance schedule, you can keep up with the work order history. When we're at the asset, you can see the work order history for all work orders tied to that asset. That would be all preventive maintenance work orders across all PM schedules, all corrective maintenance work orders, and any other work orders of any other type. But once we drill into an individual PM schedule, then we can see the history of the completion of that PM. So we can see due dates and we can see completion dates here. The preventive maintenance scheduling functionality is based upon the notion I had said earlier of a template work order. That template work order is what is known as a model work order. So you can pre-build a work order. And that work order can be used on many, many like preventive maintenance schedules. So what we can see down here is that this PM schedule, that this model work order is being used on multiple PM schedules, all for similar types of assets. And every one of these PM schedules has their own independent release dates and can have different schedule intervals, based upon the use of that. Some of them could even be meter-based, some of them could be calendar-based. So what else? What else can you do with a model work order? Well, on a model work order, you can specify what are the work instructions for the particular job. You can have tasks, and the instructions can actually be embedded in the tasks themselves. Tasks give you the ability in a more complex work environment to have many work order tasks, all designed for different craft groups, and those tasks can then subsequently be assigned. You can pre-plan what are the repair parts that are going to be used on that job, and we can see in this scenario I have a part ID right here. So this particular belt is going to take 3 of these to perform this job. The standard job rolls up and has particular costs associated with it, and then whenever the PM system generates, it essentially kind of clones that particular job and releases it. Okay, so if we were to go down to one of these work orders, we could see that this work order looks essentially just like this job template that was created right here, and that we can have all the appropriate parts for it. So let's go take a look at a work order in a little bit more depth. A work order task enables you to define the amount of time necessary to perform that task. Every work order has at least one work order task. You can associate a craft code with that, and then there becomes a cost for that particular work order task based upon a labor cost based upon the type of craft that's being applied. So an HVAC tech has a planned labor rate of $57.50. It's 2.5 hours. That gives us a planned labor cost. When you perform the job and you book labor against it, then the user who books the labor, there are labor rates associated with the individual user that roll up to the actual costs on that work order task, and then subsequently roll up to this particular work order. At the work order part level, these are the planned parts that are defined for a job. So if we go to this work order part, we can see that there are three that are planned for this job. Now, this work order has already been completed, so we can see that none of these were actually issued, and we do not have any in open commit quantity. If we were to go back and actually change the status of this work order from completed, and I'm logged in as a system administrator, so I can do these types of workflows that others may not, and I change this to scheduled, then when we look at these materials right here, we see that there are 3 that are in open commit. So one of the key pieces of functionality delivered in the AssetOptics solution is that there is a tight integration between MRO inventory and the work orders. So when you have parts that are planned on work orders and the work orders are in one of the release statuses, then we put commitments on inventory. Commitment processing is applied to inventory. If we drill down into this part, we can see a little bit of how that commitment processing is designed on inventory. So I have this part, this 5VX750 belt. So this is a spare part. Let me just set an attribute on this item. This spare part is not serialized. I have 5 on hand. I have 7 in open commit quantity, and I have none available. What this open commit quantity basically means is I have 7 of these that are planned on work orders that are opened and released. And of course, my available quantity, since I have a demand for 7 and only 5 on hand, my available quantity is 0. One might argue my available quantity is -2, but it's actually 0. I have a minimum stocking quantity of 2. I want to keep at least 2 on hand for my safety stock. Well, if I look here between my available and my minimum and what my overall demand is, the system calculates that I need to reorder 4 of these particular parts. Now, at the individual part storeroom level, we support stock unit of measures as well as purchase unit of measures and purchase pack quantities so that you can do unit of measure conversions. So the system is calculating that I need to buy 4, and those 4 come from this particular primary vendor, and they cost $25 each. Also, at the individual part level, we can manage and keep up with all of the transactions associated with that part and keep a history of everything that happens here. So when was the last time that this part was issued? When was it last ordered? What's the last date that one was received? So this goes all the way back to January the 20th, 2015. Hasn't moved yet. When's the last time a gain adjustment was performed for this particular part in this storeroom right here? And that goes back to October the 14th. We support multiple inventory valuation methods. We support last in, weighted average, and standard. And then the unit values, of course, so standard is a value that be entered. Last in is based upon receipts. Weighted average blends all the inventory valuation together every time you add new stuff to inventory. Standard inventory valuation processes. An individual part can be stored in multiple bin locations inside of a storeroom. Kind of drilling back up for just a moment to understand the concept around storage locations. I have a product. This is the product catalog at the enterprise level. This product, this 5VX750 belt, is stored in these 2 storerooms right here. Central storeroom, satellite storeroom number 1. If I drill down into this part for this satellite storeroom, which is where we were at, we can see that we have a primary bin location, 1B3D, and we go down here, we can see that we only have 1 bin location. We only have one bin location. We could go back up here and we could see that that for the same part that's stored in the central storeroom, it has a different minimum quantity. So all this demand is managed, independently. And there are two bin locations where this part is stored in this storeroom. So you can have a pick location, you can have a storage location. A part can be stored in multiple storerooms and in multiple bin locations within a storeroom, and the on-hand quantity is managed at the bin location level. And this gets even more important once you get into serialized inventory, whereby in serialized inventory, you could have serialized components within that particular bin location. So let's go back to this same part and we'll kind of follow a little bit through on this one. There is an inventory transaction history record right here. So we keep up with gain adjustments, shrink adjustment, inventory issues, inventory receipts, and orders when something was placed on an order. So we could see, quickly that we had a receipt transaction on January 20, 2015. It was tied to this purchase order, this line item number, and it was this particular transaction linked to that linked to that purchase order. We said earlier that there were multiple, that we had 7 of these in the open commit quantity. Let's go back up and take a look at this. My open commit quantity being 7, I can go down here and I can see what are the individual work orders where these are being committed to right here. So if I look down the commit quantity, I can see this one right here, this work order number 809, this work order right here, number 270, and this work order right here, number 248. Those are the ones where this part is being, where demand is being called for. Okay. Performing inventory transactions, quite simple. It can happen off of the mobile device or through the full browser, but it's as easy as creating a new part transaction. We'll just do a gain adjustment, and we'll add. Let's say that we just found 2. We can perform a simple gain adjustment, add those to inventory. Now we've got 7 on hand, that there's 7 in open commit. We still have 0 available. Our minimum stocking policy is 2. Now it's telling us we need to order 2 instead of 4 like it was telling us originally. The same part can be, this same part again can be stored in multiple storerooms, and you can transfer parts between the different storerooms. When the system is prompting you to reorder inventory, we have fully integrated purchasing functionality that ties into. We have fully integrated purchasing. Sorry, give me get this right here. Our purchasing system is fully integrated into the inventory management system. So let me just kind of go here to the Parts tab, and let me show you a view and give you a list of parts to reorder. This list is everything that meets the criteria that needs to be reordered. So the available quantity plus the on-order quantity is less than the minimum quantity. And when that happens, the system prompts us to reorder. I'm going to select these 3 lines. In an actual deployment, you have the option where you can manually process all of these parts that need to be replenished, or you may set this up through a batch job, similar to the way that our work orders are automatically released on PM schedules. You can set up a job where it will automatically generate the purchase requisitions for you. And each purchase requisition, a purchase requisition gets created for each vendor, storeroom, permutation. So when I look in this example, I have three lines selected here. One vendor, two different storerooms, and here are the quantities that need to be reordered. I'm going to click Generate POs, and this is going to generate a purchase requisition. If we click on the purchase order tabs, and we're going to look at this view called Today's Requisitions, we will see that there are now two purchase requisitions that just got created, 137. We take a look at 137. This has two line items on it, because this was back to the central storeroom. If we go back and we take a look at purchase rec number 138, we see that there's one line item associated with it. This is going to the satellite storeroom. Okay. Since our application is 100% nativeforce.com, we support all of the workflow capabilities, and one would normally build approval processes. I'll just submit this for a simple approval, and approvals can either be driven to somebody's home page. I see that I have an approval queue here on my home page. Of course, I got an email notification for an approval request right here that I could go in and I could approve directly from an email. And also, of course, I could, from the purchase order itself, I could scroll down into the approval queue. And in this scenario, this has gone to two different individuals for an approval, Mike Holland and Mike Edwards. The other purchasing approval options, the other things that you can do for purchasing for approval, or really any type of access into the solution. Again, given that it is nativeforce.com, is through Salesforce One Mobile. So I see that I have a mobile notification right here. We're looking at my iPad, and this is real live. That 1 minute ago, I got a notification here that PO number 137 needs to be approved. I swipe over to my iPad and enter my passcode. And of course, I'm going to go back to my home page right here. So let me get all the way back to my page here. This is Salesforce One Mobile. You'll notice right here, I have two notifications. I'm going to just touch those notifications, and it takes me, well, here, let me just touch them right here. Touch them right there. It's going to take me to these two notifications. You can see that one of these notifications is Mike is requesting approval for here. I'm going to touch that, and it will take me to that approval page layout. The fields that get presented here are configurable, and I've got a little bit of network lagging that's happening right here between my device and my iPad here. Between my iPad and mirroring it up on my computer. So I'm just going to go ahead. I'm going to go ahead and process this. I'm going to go ahead and process this approval. And then I'm going to log a comment, approved, let's order ASAP. Well, let's ASAP. And then I'm going to say approve. This purchase order has now been approved. If we come back here and we take a look at my home page, we'll see that it has now been retracted. We go to this purchase order. We can take a look down here. We can see that it's now run through the approval. Here are the notes the completion notes that I logged. The status has been updated to approved. I can then print or email the purchase order to the vendor, and then I would change the status to released at that point. Once I release it, then I can go back and I can take a look at that part, and it tells me, I now have a certain quantity on order right here. I have 5. And I can see the line item right here. or purchase order number 137 for this particular line item. So we're going to go back to this purchase order, and there are multiple ways to receive items once they come in. In this scenario, I've got 5 each belts. I've got 3 boxes here. I can perform partial inventory receipts. So I'm going to go here, and let's just say that they did a partial shipment and they sent me 1 box. Well, I'm going to do a receipt transaction for just 1 box right here. And we can see that we've now received 1. We still have 2 open. And of course, we can look at, the $72, which is the total extended amount, the received amount, the open amount. Lastly, we can receive entire line items at once. And we can receive many, many lines. So let's say that the vendor ships us the entire list of parts, the entire purchase order at one time. I can just select all the lines and say receive open quantity, and everything will get received all at one time. So if we go in now, we take a look at this particular part here. One thing that we will see is that for this, since this was a box of fasteners, there were 20 in a box, and we get automatic unit of measure conversions. If we looked at the line item, we would see that there were 3 boxes, but there's 20 to a box, and we stocked these in the each, so the UOM conversions automatically took place when we look at the transactions based upon the stock unit of measure. So we see we had an order for 60. They were $1.20 each, which is, of course, the box price is $24. And we did 2 receipt transactions here, one for 20, which of course was 1 box, another for 40, which was the other 2 boxes. So this essentially, outlines the overall end-to-end integration, between the asset management solution, the work order solution, the preventive maintenance scheduling, and the inventory management solution. One of the other things I would just point out is that we offer a service bill of material. We offer service bill of material functionality, so that when you are on work orders, you can pull up the bills of materials that are associated with that type of asset. You could choose those bills of materials. You could choose those particular line items on those bills of materials. It will tell you where you stock them. And then you can choose those and see how many do I have on hand, what's my bill of material quantity. I could select those and add those parts directly to a work order. Obviously, having service bills of materials built improves the overall productivity of the planners to make it easy for them to find the right particular parts, as well as the service technicians. So this concludes the demonstration part of our presentation. I see that I have multiple questions that have been posed here. So let me first grab a few of these here. The first question. The first question has to do with licensing right here. So the question is, we're currently using Sales Cloud, and Sales Cloud licenses cost us X amount of dollars per year. Is the cost of $65 per month by 12 months per user per year? Do we have an option? Cheaper option from Salesforce to get only the platform and then take AssetOptics onto it? That's a very, very good question. AssetOptics is an OEM solution provider. The $65 per month per named user includes a Salesforce platform license. So you do not need to purchase another Salesforce license for those users who are going to be AssetOptics users. The Salesforce platform license that we provide is, of course, limited to the functionality offered by a platform license and is designed to power our application. I've got a couple of I think pricing questions. So here's really another one, another question similar to the prior question, so that you can better understand overall pricing. AssetOptics, as other App Exchange solutions, we have a separate subscription fee. Now, in our scenario, since we are an OEM provider, should the users need a platform license, and if those users are only going to be using AssetOptics and the other functionality that is enabled through the platform license that we provide, that is access to the product object, price books, contracts, and I think those are really the key things. Accounts and contacts, chatter, analytics dashboards, key workflow, key chatter, that functionality. You may use the embedded platform license that we provide. So we get you a Salesforce platform license at no incremental cost. It's just our $65. If your business problem is designed so that you have users who require a full Salesforce license, that is, those users need access to cases, those users need access to leads and opportunities, then, of course, those users will have full Salesforce license, and then they will have the AssetOptics license that are additive to that. I have another question here. Let me see this. Are there any third-party call-outs or web services? No. So AssetOptics is a 100% native Force.com solution. I guess there was really one thing here, that really isn't a call out on our assets. As I showed earlier, on our assets, you can see the geolocation. This is a Google map, so there is a call to a Google Map API that displays here. And this geolocation, when you create a work order for an asset that has a geolocation, the work order inherits the geolocation. So if we were to look at a work order, we can see that work orders can be displayed on maps also. That would be really the only kind of external API call that would be made, passing those Google Map parameters. But that's fairly straightforward and simple stuff. One of the very important and key things to remember, since our application is 100% native Force.com, and since it is a managed package from an approved OEM provider, our objects, our tabs, those do not count against what are known as your limits. So if you were to go so that kind of factors into your build versus buy decision criteria if you're an existing Salesforce customer. When you get the solution from us as a managed package from an authorized OEM provider, our objects don't count against your object limits. Let me see, another question. um, the question here really centers around, I believe, um, the what if I already have a full Salesforce CRM license? Um, so when we provide you with an AssetOptics license at $65 per named user per month, there's a 12-month minimum term on the user, so it is $780 per year. If your users already have a full Salesforce license and need the functionality of a full Salesforce license, that is, need access to leads, contacts, no, I shouldn't say contacts, leads, opportunities, quotes, those sales functions, then they will have to continue to use those licenses. We have an agreement with Salesforce where we pay Salesforce royalties. We don't need to get into all those details, but if you need a platform license, we get you that platform license at no incremental cost. If your existing Salesforce CRM users are not using the Salesforce, full cloud functionality, and would only need the Salesforce platform license for AssetOptics, then you can certainly repurpose those licenses to other users, and make contract amendments with Salesforce accordingly during your renewal terms. And I think there's a question here. It's really related to implementation costs. What are the final costs if we were to incorporate AssetOptics? Well, there are two aspects of costs. One, there's the subscription fee, and then there's implementation consulting work, and obviously the latter can vary based upon the scope of the work that's being done, how much in-house skills that you have. Is the application meet your business requirements out of the box? Do we need to build approval processes, add custom fields, build workflows? There's a number, is there data migration that has to happen? How much training and change management, would we be involved with, or would another Salesforce.com partner be involved with? We do everything from very short, rapid implementations, all the way to long multi-year projects. Whenever we get into things that are significantly large, so it's kind of similar to how much it costs me to implement Salesforce. Well, if you got a small user base and a good, strong administrative staff, and you know and understand your processes, you can do it very inexpensively. If you need a lot of business change management, it goes on for quite a bit. There will be a recording of this demonstration available. We will send an email with a link to all of the participants where you can download a copy of this. Again, let me thank everyone on behalf of the AssetOptics team for joining us for our webinar this afternoon. And if you have any questions, you can feel free to email me directly at mike.edwards@assetoptics.com, or info@assetoptics.com, and I'll make sure that your question gets to the appropriate persons. Again, mike.edwards@assetoptics.com. Thank you again for your attendance. Have a wonderful day.